Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. On that farm he had some pigs. E-I-E-I-O. With a sheep here and a goat there. Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
Eric from Ohio had a book.
E-I-E-I-O. And that book made no sense. E-I-E-I-O. So he fed it here, fed it there, pages flying everywhere.
Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Sometimes he shoots it straight.
E-I-E-I-O.
Sometimes he wipes his butt.
E-I-E-I-O. Pages spin and chaos reign. Sheep just stare like
Bro's insane.
the Quran is such a stupid book. E-I-E-I-O.
Every day the book gets zooted. Zoot, 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 zoot. Same book gets eaten. Zoot, 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 zoot. It gets zooted here, zooted there, zooted everywhere.
Everywhere. Eric from Ohio zooted that book.
E-I-E-I-O. Welcome, everyone. Okay, I think I need to introduce these guys here. I mean, they're not small names. These guys have quite a bit of following, but we'll see how their knowledge of Islam is lacking. But before we start on that, and we also have I just saw this right before I started. We have an update from Lily J, which we'll hit later on. But right now, because that was our topic for our last live stream we did, but right now we are at 172-day streak and still going. Intro is too epic. Yes. I got to thank Sal for the music there because he's the one who created the music. I of course, did the videos for it. I do have, and jihadis, beware of this, I do have a couple of more videos in my back pocket, some more music going on that I could release at any given time, given correct provocation. But I just don't want to do it willy-nilly. And believe me, we will take it up a notch with the next video. You guys can sometimes catch the bits and clips of the music in the background. I sometimes use some of the music that I intend to use for the next music video in some of the songs. You can't vote because you don't know. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll go. We'll be pulling this guy up. We'll be taking a look at some of his arguments for the wonders of Islam. Should let you know where this live stream is already going. But let you guys know his main source is Trust Me, Bro. Which means this is going to get fun. So let's go ahead and pull up who this guy is. Right here is his channel here on YouTube. He's also got TikTok, X, yada, yada, yada. We'll be going through some of the TikTok videos that he posts on there. He's got multiple channels. But here is his primary, to my understanding. I could be wrong. He could have a lot more for all I know. But here you go. He has 711 1,000 subscribers. So, I mean, this guy's not a small dude. He's got himself a little bit of a following, I'd say. And I went ahead and subscribed because, let's be honest, some of this logic we're going to have to come back to later on. So I'll pull up the videos. I've got like 20 of these things to go through. So we'll see if I can make it through all 20 or I have a mental breakdown beforehand, because that might be the logic we're looking at today. Oh boy. 13 and 19. Not sure what you're referring to on that, but okay. Let's go ahead and dive on into the topic here. Share the screen. So here we go. So these are his TikTok. It keeps popping up in my feed, and it's like every time it pops up, I'm like, I'll deal with this later. So I go ahead and save it to a playlist, which we'll be going through some of it later. But this man decides to talk on Sharia. Oh, likes versus views. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Hit the like button. We're also on X and Rumble as well. So we're on 3 platforms all at the same time. Eventually, we'll be on TikTok as well. It's just a matter of time. Once my channel grows big enough, we'll get the access to the stream feature and be streaming on there. Let's go ahead and add this. Let me know about the audio, because I'm not sure. This is the first time I'm using this computer with this setup. So new computer, new setup, using TikTok directly. We'll find out how the audio actually works.
The real question: if Islam came to power, you will treat us better than Jews? There would be a jizya tax, and then for Muslims, they're paying zakat, which the Muslims paying zakat, their charity tax, is more than what non-Muslims pay. And
okay, there's some tricks already being played here. First of all, yes, he's right. You would have to pay the jizya as well as a lot of other conditions, because let's be honest, there's a lot within Sharia. And if you guys are familiar with my channel, you know that I'm pretty decently versed within Reliance of the Traveler. So first of all, you can't, non-Muslims, not all non-Muslims, get to pay the jizya. That's not a thing. You've got Jews, Christians, Zoroastrians. If you are an atheist, you're up a creek without a paddle. You either convert to Islam or you are executed. That's what Sharia says. So if Islam comes to power, that's what's actually happening. So he's adding that in. He's not focusing on that. He's just focusing on what happens to the Jews and Christians. Oh yeah, they pay this jizya, right? Oh well, you know, they'd have to pay less taxes than the Muslims do. No, that's not true. In fact, there's no reference to that at all. That's why they don't pull it up. In fact, this is some of the lies that I believe, if memory serves, some of the Muslims were trying to push at Congress, in front of Congress, is when we were there with the sort of, I didn't realize it was supposed to be a debate, but I guess it's kind of a debate between the Muslims and IP and the other gentleman that was there. And there's no part of Sharia that says you can only charge them this. It gives a recommendation. It says this is suggested, but it's honestly left up to the decisions of the caliph to decide how much the non-Muslims are going to pay, the Christians and Jews are going to pay. Because remember, atheists, you guys are screwed under Islam. You guys are executed, or you convert. That's your choice. But we can look back historically and see what some of the rates were. And if we look at like Andalusia, so Muslim Spain, we see, and this is in the book, the study that is Myths of the Andalusian Paradise, where you look at that and you see rates as high as 90% of your income. That means, guys, if you made, let's say, 60,000 a year, you would get taxed everything except for 6,000. You would actually get 6,000 after tax. That's what 90% tax rate would actually be. Is that? I mean, that is That's pretty insane. I mean, seriously. I mean, I know that taxes here in the United States, there's a lot of taxes, and I know in other nations there are a lot higher taxes in many other nations. But I don't think I've ever heard of a 90% tax rate on any people or group. And again, that's based on your religion, because that's for the Jews and for the Christians. Everyone else, well, your ending isn't as happy. No. So yeah, that's what Sharia says as far as jizya goes. And again, even when you're in that position, you still have to abide by certain laws and criterias in Sharia that only apply to Jews and Christians, such as being designated by a different clothes. Now, this can take multiple different forms. The most common one is wearing a wide cloth belt. But in Andalusia, Spain, again, we see a difference in that, where the Jews were required to wear stars, which that's interesting. You had to wear the Star of David. Yep, 90%. That was their jizya payment. And we'll get into what happens. I'll let you guys know before we continue the video what happens when you don't pay it or you violate any of the other commands or requirements within Sharia if you are a non-Muslim, Christian, or Jew. So as far as the statement there with clothes is interesting, right? Because you got to wear these special clothes, and sometimes these Jews have to wear this Star of David, as we historically see within Muslim Spain. We also see the Star of David used in another location. I'm sure all these people who are wearing the star, you can see it down there on this little boy's shirt. You can see it on this little girl shirt, the little boy shirt. I'm sure there's nothing bad ever happened to these guys who were specifically given this very iconic star to wear as a way of identifying yourself instantly that you're part of this group. And it's illegal for you not to wear it. And that would be a violation of the law and instantly fall into the next category, which we'll get into as far as a violator goes. So I'm sure there's nothing, and I'm sure this nation, who actually, by the way, took note from Islamic Spain in order to get this star concept in for the Jews, this little place called Germany. I'm sure that when they gathered them all up in one location, nothing bad ever happened to them. And the Muslims definitely were not saying to Hitler, "Hey, come down here with that stuff. We want your genocide down here." Oh, they were so totally doing that. That was actually the plan, was annihilate the Jews in Germany, in Europe, all of Europe, and then move to the Middle East and annihilate them there in the Muslim territories en masse. But yeah, segregation, there's nothing wrong with segregation according that's built into it is this concept of segregation. Let me go ahead and go back to the video there. So real quick before we continue, like I said, I was going to let you guys know a little bit more. So that's one of the ways you would be discriminated against. Yes, yellow. The stars were yellow. Another one is you get a lesser greeting, which doesn't sound too bad, but then again, you do need to recognize what your position is within this. You need to be humbled, according to the Quran. You need to be subdued. Why? Because you are the worst of all creatures. So you keep to the side of the street, so you give way whenever Muslims come. And I'm actually just looking at Reliance of the Traveler, which is the Sharia handbook. So I'm just looking directly at that. Let me go ahead and share actually this tab right here. So these are conditions here, which are to be done. Must keep to the side of the street. You may not build higher than Muslims. Although if you acquire a building and it's already higher, it's like you can keep the building. So not going to make you tear it down. Look how generous they are. You have building restrictions because you cannot be at a higher position than Muslims. Because that's how Sharia is. You're forbidden from openly displaying wine, pork, to ring church bells or display crosses. Yeah, that sounds like religious freedom right there, right? All you have to do, according to this guy, all you have to do is, you just need to pay. You just need to pay a little jizya. You just need to pay a little jizya. That's all. That's all. No, there's always more. In the door, they say it's only this little thing, and then it's like, well, this and 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 this, and then it dictates your entire life. Considering section 7 here is also and are forbidden to build new churches. Section down here also consider some things that would directly and immediately violate the law, violate the protection of the jizya. So if you don't pay it, obviously that would violate it. But there's also other conditions. If they commit adultery with a Muslim woman or marry her. So if you marry a Muslim, if a Christian guy marries a Muslim woman, that's a violation right there. If a Muslim man marries a Christian woman, perfectly fine. No issue with that at all. It's just the Christian men. I wonder why. Oh, the men are the heads of the household. So you can't do that. You also have doing what I do a lot, which is leads a Muslim away from Islam, conceals spies of hostile forces, which, I mean, that could just be an accusation, period. Like I said, leads Muslims away from Islam, which is kind of the point of this whole enchilada right here. And then, of course, section 4 kills a Muslim. So it's not that he murders a Muslim, which is different from kills. It's if he kills a Muslim in any way, shape, or form, even in self-defense, he can be charged. Now, if you kill an apostate, you're fine. As long as that person apostates, you're fine. But if you kill a Muslim, even in self-defense, you could be charged here with this. Or mention something impermissible about Allah, the Prophet, or Islam. So if you say Islam is a false religion and they say, that's an impermissible violation, we're going to find out what happens to you in just a second. So right here, so this is 11.11 describes what's going to happen. You're basically considered taking captive in war, which goes to 9.14. 09.14, which is slightly up here because, by the way, the only war that is accepted within Islam is jihad. But we'll definitely get to that later on because, of course, they have to lie about that one. So we go up here to 9. This is a legal document, guys. Yeah, this is over 1,000 pages in this one PDF, and this one is free online. There's 1,251 pages. And it dictates everything. But we'll just focus on some things here for today. So 14, which talks about a male, which either he can be ransomed back to the nation which he's from, which if he's violated the law, that doesn't apply. He can be put to death. He can be enslaved, released without paying anything, or ransomed. So that's all left up to the caliph. Now, if a man converts, is captured in war, or captured by violating this, and converts before that point, he is not allowed to be put to death. So if he converts to Islam before that point, he's not allowed to be put to death. But other than that, that's what happens. Now, a woman or child is different because their capture means something else, which is 9.13, which says when a child or a woman is taken captive or violates, as we saw earlier on, this would be the same category as violating one of those rules, or their husband violate. By the way, if the husband violates it, the family's screwed too. Captured, they become slaves by the very fact of the capture. Here we go, slavery right here already. That didn't take long. Thank you very much for adding that in. Yes, if you guys want to have this document, make sure to check it out. I would suggest you be familiar with this because right now it seems that Sharia is coming up a lot. There's a lot of people pointing to it, saying stuff that isn't true at all. And all we have to do is read it. So, a woman is captured and the woman's previous marriage is immediately annulled. So no matter what, annulled. Yes, this means you go out and you can easily capture slaves through warfare. So when on October 8th, the Muslims came into Israel and took captives by Sharia, those are immediately, any woman or child taken captive is their slave, and they can do with them as they please. And there is no actual protection for slaves within Islam. You can beat a slave. Muhammad smiled while slaves were being beaten in front of him by, well, it was one slave being beaten in front of him by his father-in-law. So that's Sunan Abi Dawud 1818. So there's no question that you can mistreat slaves. That's not, you can do whatever you want with them. We know that Muhammad raped his female captives, his female slaves. Why? Because he could. And he even got one pregnant. So we know some funkiness can be happening. But that is what happens to those that are captured in war, which, by the way, again, the only war that you will find within the Reliance of the Traveler, which is Sharia law, the Sharia law handbook, is jihad. That's it. Jihad and jihad alone. Where Christianity, you got a separation between holy war, crusade, and just secular sort of nation fighting nation war. There's never that. It's always the war against the infidel. So let's go back and see what other points he has to say about Sharia law.
That the only people that are non-Muslim that pay are military-aged men, to my understanding. Women don't pay. Poor people don't pay. That's all it is for military.
Poor people definitely are required to pay, or they're sold into slavery. I mean, there is an except. It is not an exception in Reliance of the Traveler, to my understanding, for women, children, or poor. That's not a thing. So he's lying out his rear end here because he has no clue what he's actually talking about.
Men. So instead of you fighting, Muslims go and fight for you. No unjust wars, no killing civilians, no supporting.
Holy cow, that is a long list. No unjust wars. Let me see. Can I? Yes, I can do that. Good. So he just went on a rant there. Okay, let's see if we can hit each topic real quick here.
No unjust wars, no killing.
No unjust wars. Define just. Because if you're using what is currently classified as just warfare, that is built off Christian principles and the Bible, not off of Islam. Islam violates standard just war conduct very clearly. So that one falls through.
Go and fight for you.
And no, you are actually required to go to war. In fact, jizya wasn't just, and he didn't focus on this, and I definitely need to bring it up. Jizya isn't just money. No. It can be in blood. It can be, you have to give me your firstborn son. You have to give me your daughter for my concubines. That's the caliph can make jizya whatever he wants. In fact, there's historical evidence, in fact, a huge amount of historical evidence about the Ottoman Empire, which quite commonly took the would require jizya in the payment of young boys for their personal army. So they would take young boys from Christian families, from Jewish families, train them in Islam, forcibly convert them, and then send them back as warriors to subjugate their own family, to kill and subjugate their own family. This was a very common practice in the Ottoman Empire. And it's all supported by this. That was part of jizya. That was part of the payment they had to make. And yes, while they were taken captive, taken part of the jizya, as in the Ottoman courts, they were quite often used as sex toys for the Ottoman rulers. In fact, you have Vlad the Impaler and his brother, who were both taken and used as personal sex toys of the Ottoman Sultan at the time. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Vlad hated the Ottomans so much, is he was taken as a young boy and raped repeatedly. He was described in some of the sources as being the Sultan's favorite play toy. Yeah, that explains a lot. Oh yeah, and the fact that they would make them into commanders. They would have fun with them when they would have their fun when they were kids, and then they make them into their commanders, send them against the Christians, so send them against their family members. And one of the common practices, Janissaries, yeah, it's a Janissaries tradition. Yeah, that is the tradition I'm referring to. So one of the favorite tactics of the Ottomans was to impale Christians on spikes. Vlad the Impaler looked at that and said, "Hold my beer." And metaphorically, not literally, but basically took it once he was able to get out. And he had to be very sly about that. It's very sneaky. If you guys want to know more about it, Raymond Ibrahim's book, Defenders of the West, has an excellent chapter on the life of Vlad the Impaler. And he does a great source because he's using both Ottoman sources and the Christian sources from around. So he'd use both. So he does a fantastic job with that. Make sure if you guys want to check it out more, I'd recommend that book. That's a great book. But yeah, he took it to the next level. So he just took the practices that the Muslims were doing, that they taught him and forced him to do to the Christians, and he took that and took it up a scale and put it on the Muslims. And you wonder why, till this day, he is still considered by the native people of his land to be a hero. Yeah. Let's go and go back.
No unjust wars, no killing civilians.
No killing civilians. Absolutely killing civilians. Killing civilians, as classified by just war doctrine that we have today, is absolutely allowed within Islam. The way they would try to wiggle around that is how they would qualify a combatant. For example, a combatant would be someone who helps in any way, shape, or form. I mean, if you pay taxes by Sharia, you could be classified as a combatant by using it as reference. That is itself absolutely insane. So no matter what it is, I mean, if a kid handed a piece of bread to a soldier as food, that kid is now a combatant and fair game. And again, according to Sharia, they are perfectly fine with taking him captive. When Muhammad was asked about killing women and children, he just declared they're of them. That's it. They're part of them. That's it. Yeah, Hollywood does not tell Vlad's true story. Absolutely not. No. It's it might be a little too. I'll let you know. Reading through the actual history, It might be a little too intense for Hollywood. That's weird. It's like, really? It's like, oh yeah. That is some dark, dark, dark stuff. Vlad went through a lot before he came out the other end. And even then, during his lifetime, he wasn't really looked at as being a hero. It was until after, primarily afterwards, that he was highly, highly praised. Let's see what else he has got to say.
Supporting genocide or ethnic cleansing.
Genocide and ethnic cleansing, absolutely. Muhammad himself said that there shouldn't be a Jew or a Christian within Saudi Arabia, that he was going to kill them all or force them to convert. The ethnic cleansing, absolutely. Absolutely. There are races of people, according to Islam, that are the best of people. And then you have other races which aren't the best of people, who might be considered the worst of people. Primarily, black people are really low on the rail as far as Muhammad is concerned. And you'd be like, oh, wait, I thought Muhammad was black. No, Muhammad was as white as the piece of paper. He is a white boy. He was so white that when people would come to check out, hey, where is Muhammad? He'd say, the companions of Muhammad would point over there in the general direction and say, hey, that white guy over there. That was how obvious it was in comparison to the others around him. So, yeah, he's white. In fact, there's an entire website that if you just search the whiteness of Muhammad, it will go by body parts. You'll be describing his shanks, his armpits, his arms, his complexion. Every part of his body is as white as can be. Grew up in the Ottoman court. Yes, he was captured. He was his dad. So where they get Dracula from is Dracula, which was a reference to being part of the Order of the Dragon. So Vlad was son of the dragon in that regard, and him and his brother were tribute to the Sultan, and they grew up in his courts. And yeah, that was not a good situation. Grew up pretty quickly, considering he was the Sultan's play toy, like I said. Oh, emperors. He learned a few things. Yeah, he was trained in warfare. So yeah, he was trained up in that. He was abused. So, and they were brutal. They would take a lot. The I think it was Janissary. The Janissary training was very similar in a lot of ways to Spartan training. If you look back historically at the Spartans training, except the Spartans training looked like summer camp in comparison. It's that rough. Absolutely. So let's see what else he claims.
Torture, no lying.
Torture. That's part of Sharia. Yeah, you can torture. You can torture non-Muslims. You can lie. What do you mean you can't lie? You can lie. That's part of Islam. Says war is deceit. Taqiyya. You can lie about your religion in order to further it. There's no problem with this. This has led to multiple issues.
Oppressing other faiths or
no
groups.
selling out the weak for donors.
No oppressing other faiths. What is the jizya except discrimination against another religion? It is built in. You can't have church bells. You can't openly proselytize. You can't preach. You can't read the Torah. You can't read the Gospels out loud where any Muslim could hear you. These are all requirements that would cause you to violate Sharia if you were in a Muslim nation.
Alcohol would be forbidden. This is like...
Yes, alcohol would be forbidden on the books. Absolutely. That they're right. Alcohol would be forbidden on the books. You know what else would be forbidden? Dogs. Dogs are also widely forbidden within Islam. So no pets. No. You can have like hunting dogs. Sure, you can have that. If they function somehow that Muhammad couldn't get around, then yes, you would have them. But other than that, if you have a dog that you just wanted to have a pet, just for the pure fact of wanting to love a pet, no. No, you cannot have a dog. You can't have a cat. You cannot have a dog. Those should be put to death immediately once Sharia is established.
True Muslim society. No prostitution, no OF.
Yes, exactly. There is prostitution. They just rebrand it. That's it. In Mishyar marriage, that's prostitution. That's it. Yeah, Phil said, I have a black dog. I have 2 black dogs. Both of them would be put to death. Both of them would be dead. No music. Yep, no music. Video games, movies, anime, pictures, family photos. Those go out the window. No images of any frame, any sort. Most books. In fact, the established principle of, I think it was Umar Uthman. It was one they use. I think it's Uthman. Uthman was when he took over Egypt. When the Muslims took over Egypt, he said that if they have books there, if they are in line with Islam, we don't need them because we have the Quran. And if they're not in line with Islam, we don't want them. So burn them all. Yeah. That would be the main event. I know Muslims like, it doesn't, I mean, this guy's making videos right here. You think he really gives a rat's rear end about Sharia, about Islam? No. If you really did, you would never watch YouTube. You would never watch any sort of video. You'd never watch any movie. You would never watch anything. Because guess what? These are motion pictures you're seeing. So these are images of humans moving on the screen right now. That would be a violation. Yeah, no, he didn't do any research. He's what's called a grifter. I hope Lily J will help you open up your eyes, which we'll be covering her latest video later on.
None of this garbage. No interest loans. You know, like, why? How?
Now, that's fair. I'm going to give that one to them as well. Give them the alcohol, which granted is just on the books, which means that there's ways around it, which if you're not reported or caught, doesn't matter. So who cares? And because there are definitely Muslims who drink and have stills inside like Saudi Arabia and many Muslim nations. But, you know, no interest loans. Yeah. In fact, I got an ad not too long ago. I don't think I saved it. I should have saved it for a Muslim helping home society, which in other words, hey, we'll help you buy a house. We'll give you the money to buy the house and don't worry about it. We'll co-own it with you. You put a little bit down. You can own a portion of the house. We'll own a portion of the house. And just like every month, you pay us an amount that you have to pay us just for the right to use the house, first of all. And then you can, after that, you can pay a little bit more and you'll get to own the house a little bit. That's interest loan, dude. You just rebrand it. That's all you got to do. Just like in Islam, it's legalistic. So if you just rebrand, you're perfectly fine. And that is halal. And Muslims do it.
They're so expensive. What the main reason for that is, it all stems down to interest, bro. Someone asked an interesting question in the chat. Sonny, real quick.
So all stems down to interest, which is the interest itself is not, but they just work around so they make it work anyway.
Muslims worship a different God than Christians. True or false?
That's
absolutely. Muslims worship a different God. They have a different definition for what God is than you see in the Bible and in the Torah. They have different definitions. Not a big surprise. Yeah. Sure, dude. Lily J is innocent. No, she's not. Is Fareed responds anti-Islam too? Is Dean responds anti-Islam too? I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I got my channel is by that definition anti-Islam, but I still don't want Muslims to get scammed. I don't want you to waste your money and get scammed. So, in that regard, no, I'm very pro-Muslim, the person, to come to know Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior, and I'm against anyone getting scammed, which is exactly what Lily J is doing, is an absolute scam. Oh, and by the way, I see that, yes, she will be going live today, showing all the real proof. So wait for it. Oh, believe me. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm very much looking forward to it. So let's see what he's. So no, they don't worship because we have two different definitions of what God is, because definitions matter.
Literally what I became famous for. I was on the
Break
Danny,
it down.
I was on the Danny Jones.
Make it simple enough to where my frat brothers from UT can understand
Very
this
simple.
shit.
I hate to break the news to you, but Jesus Christ probably looked like a Muslim more than he looked like the guys you guys seen.
Well, he was a Jew, so he would be Arab, sure, at least Arabish skin color because he's Middle East. So yeah, who cares? What does that matter? Nothing at all, according to Christianity.
Picture. That's number one. Number two, he didn't speak English. He didn't speak Latin.
Okay. How is this proving that? Okay, we'll let him continue. But of course, he's going to be obsessed with the whole Jesus only spoke one language because no one ever could learn multiple languages.
He didn't speak Greek.
Jesus spoke Greek. You can see that in the message given on the Mount. Would have been spoken in Greek.
He spoke a Semitic language. So
he spoke three languages. He spoke Greek, Hebrew, because he would have had to have at least he would have had to have spoken and read Hebrew in order to read the scrolls in the synagogue, which we see in the scriptures. So we know he knew Hebrew.
Word Allah is not a name.
And we assume that he had Aramaic because that was the common language as far as the private language of the area. Now, the Greek was established as the trade language. So anyone that was in the trades or trying to talk to a massive amount of people would be speaking Greek. So Aramaic might have been something he spoke in private, which there are indications that he definitely did speak Aramaic as well. So, I mean, there's three languages that Jesus spoke by the proof that we see in the scripture. Spoke Latin with, yes, he did. He spoke Latin with Pilate, if memory serves, which would make sense because Latin wasn't the trade language. It was the aristocratic language. And this happens a lot within world histories. You would have multiple languages. Like right now, guess what the trade language is right now? English. So everyone that's listening can understand me. You're speaking the trade language of the age. There are places all around the world you go to, and you will find someone who will speak English. You will find someone out there who will be able to talk this language. They'll also be talking their native language, but there are a lot of people that do both. So you'd have the trade language. You can see the split as far as the aristocratic sort of concept of language as well. You can see that divide when William the Conqueror came into England. You could see that divide there, where French became the noble's language and English was the common man's tongue or Anglo-Saxon was the common man. Anglo-Saxon was kind of dying out at the time, but English was the common man's tongue. And you can even see this still reflected in our language. And I like going to this because I always thought this was really cool because it always confused me. Like, for example, cow. What's cow meat called? Beef. Why is there a divide? Why isn't it just cow meat? No, it's beef. You have pig. What's pig? Pork. What's deer? Venison. Why is there this divide? And then you get to chicken. What's chicken? Chicken. Chicken's just chicken. Why? Because chicken was a poor man's food. So when it was being grown up, it would have the common man's language used with it. And when it got to the table of the aristocratic elite, it would get the other language used on it. So that's why you have a divide. It's interesting that it still exists today. So pig and pork. Cow and beef. I mean, that is very interesting once you actually take a look at that sort of history. English is literally the most complicated language I've ever heard of. I know they like to claim that about Arabic. Arabic's the most complicated. No. English is. English has got a beat.
And I have a newsflash for you. When you're a Christian, you say F Allah, because I see it all over the internet. You're literally cursing what the word just God means in Arabic. The deity, the one that is worshipped.
So wait, are you telling me that?
No, it's specific. And this, I even had someone on TikTok, which I do like. One of the features I like about TikTok is you're able to send messages. I had someone on there complaining that, oh, how dare you say anything bad about Allah because Allah just means the God. No, it doesn't. In context with the Quran, in context with Islam, you see very quickly that it is a specific God that Allah is, not a general God. And yes, sheep and mutton is another example of that sort of split.
Allah.
Calf and veal. Man, we're getting a language lesson going on here. Didn't intend it, but okay, we'll go with it.
Is God?
It just means the word God in Arabic.
Muslims worship a different God than Christians.
So that's their stance. That's a claim made by the ignorant and the people trying to fool the ignorant. No, that's not what Allah means in context with the Quran. And when I refer to Allah, I mean that God. If I refer to God, I mean God. And if I'm talking about a Hindu God, then I'm specific about what that Hindu God is. But Allah is the God they call upon. So yes, that's what it definitely means. And again, there's a different definition given in the Quran that is not found in the Bible. Completely different entities. We'll go ahead and go on to our next one here. So, like I said, I'm just going to roll through these until I get sick and tired of these. Although I think I spent like 20 minutes on the first one. I had 20 of these. I might need to do part 1, part 2 at this point.
The Quran says, speak softly to the Christian man, for amongst them are men with reason. We're brothers, like closest to.
No. We're not brothers. Let's go on and continue. I know I'm already itching.
You in faith.
Closest to you in
So
faith.
speak softly to them, for amongst them are monks and clergy and men of knowledge.
The Quran says,
no. It's not be nice, because guess what? According to the Quran, you cannot take Jews and Christians as allies. That's not allowed. On top of that, you look at Quran 929, and this is one that most Muslims will not actually know about because they're not taught this one, definitely in the West. Jews and Christians are the worst of creation, according to Quran 929. No, not 929. It's 98:6. 929 is paying the jizya and feeling themselves humbled, subdued, humiliated. So, yeah, we are to be humiliated. We are the worst of creatures, according to the Quran. We are not to be friends. And of course, those all abrogate the nicer verses they're looking at. So they're only looking at the nice verse. They're cherry picking the nice verse and forgetting about the rule of abrogation.
Speak softly to.
So that was an easy one to roll through.
Actually, something interesting in the Quran where God will ask Jesus, "Oh Jesus, did you ever ask the people to worship you?" And Jesus
And your
will
mother.
say,
You
and your mother.
Because they
Because
pray
they pray to mom too. Mother of God. That's what they say. Mother of God, say for us. Jesus, peace be upon him. He's going to say,
That's
"Oh
not what it's
God,
referring to.
you know what's in my heart, what's in my mind." This is English.
That's not what it's referring to. Actually, it's referring to the Trinity, because it's, oh Jesus, did you tell the people to take you and your mother along as deities alongside Allah? Allah likes speaking in the third person. Far be it from me. So no, it's a misunderstanding of the Trinity, because Muhammad thought the Trinity, and the Trinity that's argued against in the Quran itself, is that it's Jesus, Mary, and Allah, not Father, Son, Holy Spirit, because Muhammad didn't understand it. That's what I point to. Now, this leads to a very funny situation that you could easily do, which is, hey, you can make the argument that the Quran never contradicts the Bible in the doctrine of the Trinity. Because strictly speaking, it doesn't. It says that Allah is not one of three. Well, no Christian says that God is one of three. No, we say that God is one with three personhoods. You could even make the argument that the Quran, in some regard, is supporting the concept of the Trinity, which is really fun to do. And I do need to do that as an actual argument, just for the pure thought process that it would take, see if I can actually pull it together, where again Allah says that, well, the Quran says that Allah is unlike anything in creation, and you'll have every Muslim say, yes, Allah is not like anything in creation. So if he's a triune being, three persons, one being, that is unlike anything in creation, right? Yes. But that's not one of three. It's not one God, one of three gods. No. That's the point. So you can easily make that argument from it.
Paraphrasing. This isn't the direct words. The Arabic is the direct words. You know what's in my heart. You know what's in my mind. I would never say such a thing. He's going to say on the day of judgment, I never told them to worship me. I said, hear, O Israel, your Lord is one. Actually, something interesting.
Yes, and the Bible says that it transmits the words of Jesus saying that he is God. So no, we're not talking about the same Jesus here. You're talking about Isa, not Jesus. It would be funny to see that debate. I'd actually be willing to do that debate. I would have to take some time. I'd really want to bulletproof it and make sure ahead of time that I could actually make the argument legitimately. But I mean, you could literally make, by the research I've already done into this, you could make the argument that Muhammad was a devout Christian preaching Trinitarianism to the surrounding pagans and refuting heresies that were found in the area at the time. You could try to make that argument off the Quran. And then it was Abu Bakr and Uthman who later on corrupted the Quran. So it created the Quran. They're the ones that compiled it. Muhammad never told them to compile it by their own words. It is Uthman, Abu Bakr, who were the ones who decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and put this together. Umar was also part of that. So you got the four rightly guided caliphs getting together and putting together this Quran together that Muhammad never commanded them to do, because, well, you see, Muhammad already had the Bible, so why would he need another book? Yeah, you could very interesting argument, and that would be an interesting debate. So that's something I might do later on. That might be a fun little skit to do.
Their whole propaganda against Muslims has always been to try to paint them as terrorists. So what have they done recently? They took the word Islam, they took the word Islamists. Now, I've never once heard a Muslim call themselves.
Okay. No, we don't do that. That's actually Muhammad, who said that he was victorious through terror. That Allah is the one who instills terror in the hearts of the disbelievers. And he repeats saying this over and over and over again, that he is the one who's victorious through terror. So if we look at the Quran and the Hadith and say, Muhammad's over here saying, I am the terrorist here. I'm running around scaring everyone, and it's Allah who's instilling the terror into their hearts for specific political change, in that they turn from polytheism and Christianity and Judaism to my religion. Yeah. Muhammad's the one who made you into that. Following him makes you into a terrorist. Absolutely.
An Islamist. In my entire life, I've only ever heard it out of the mouths of people that hate Islam and they're trying to demonize Muslims. That's it. If we don't even call ourselves it, why do you call us it? We call you Christians.
I don't try to demonize Muslims. And no, you don't call us Christians necessarily. Not all Muslims. I've definitely been called other things by Muslims. Kafir is one. Definitely when they want to demean.
We call you Catholics what you want to be called. I identify as this. Call us Muslims. Or if you don't even want to say the Arabic, say, oh, you who submit to God. Start calling us submitters to God. I'd actually prefer that. Their whole propaganda.
You're not submitters to God. You're submitters to Muhammad and Allah. You're not submitters to God. You're submitters to both. Because you have to make Muhammad judge in all things in order to be a Muslim. So, nope. No. Not good enough.
In working with the folks at Epic, the rage, the hate, the triggering, the evil branding that you have had to go through as a people is just unbelievable to me. You mentioned the word mosque, and people I've known back for 50 years. What are you doing representing those? It's like, my God, it's a church, man.
And it's by...
No, it's not. It's not a church. The mosques are not equivalent. I know they like to try to make it equivalent to a church, but just like Islam is more than just a religion. It's an ideology that encompasses every part of someone's life, including political, including legal, as well as personal. So it's not just a religion like Christianity is that dictates how we are to live our lives in relationship with Christ. And as we live our life with Christ, we can become more like him. Mirroring Christ to the world itself. No, Islam is a lot more than that. And it has Sharia, which is the law section of it. And guess what? Mosques aren't just, oh, you come here, we worship. They're also Sharia courts. Because every mosque is required to have someone who could rule on Sharia. Now, that could be someone who's moving around. Maybe he's got multiple mosques under him. I'm not sure about the logistics, but that is a requirement that every mosque have the ability to have Sharia rulings through it. And what is bad, definitely in America about that is a foreign legal system coming in and being put into America and enforced. Now, at this point, they're just enforcing upon the Muslim people themselves. But let's be fair here. If you look at Sneako's most recent video was very telling about this, about how they want to enforce it upon everyone. How it's going to be going to everyone's house. How it's going to enter into everyone's house. Everyone's city, everyone's nation will become Islamic. You look at Dearborn. You enter into Dearborn, it's like entering into a third world nation. You are instantly in the Middle East. Arabic everywhere. Because why? One of the strategies of mosques is to buy up the land around them, and then they will sell that land off, but they only sell it off to their congregation. So they will list it, and they'll say that it's listed publicly, legally speaking, because the mosque is public. But the Muslims that are there are the ones who hear about it first and can instantly buy it. So what you end up with is you end up with enclaves around a mosque, because that's what happens. And a lot of these mosques are in really bad neighborhoods because all the money is sucked into the mosque itself. And society itself is left to, well, suffer. But yeah, they're not equivalent. It's not the same.
Design, brother. It's by design. From the same groups of people that are involved with Epstein and all these scandals that go across the world to justify the wars that have been going on that most Americans do not want.
Right.
I'm a first-generation American born and raised in this country. I love this country with all of my heart. And I'm the minority, but I'm not really. I mean, actually, yeah, the white people would be the biggest minority in Islam, but the actual overall minority of Muslims are Arabs.
Right.
They're only 19% of the entire almost 2 billion population in the world. People think it's an Arab religion.
Right. They do.
In my opinion, these people...
Well, it started in Arabia by a white man, but yes. So that's why it would be an Arab religion. It's because of its geographic starting point. But do remember that the only nations that are currently under Islamic control are all nations taken by the sword, by Islam.
would have been much smarter by just attacking the Arabs and going after their culture and trying to dehumanize them. And that's where they bit off more than they chewed.
Right. In working with the folks at Epic,
that's where they bit off more than they chew. No, there are a lot of Arab Christians. Arab nationality isn't tied to Islam. There are a lot of Arab Christians. I've talked to quite a few of them. Cool guys and gals.
The Muslims in the United States are going to invoke Sharia law, and they're going to start having sex with 8-year-old women, and they're going to start chopping off the arms of people that
first and foremost, there's not any,
real quick before we get into his trying to cover up. Yes, that is by definition. Just like when we were in Congress, they're saying the Muslims up there, no one's trying to enforce Sharia at this point. It's the governors who are supposed to enforce Sharia, like in New York, which they already tried to do a ban on dogs. They tried to get that pushed through. Not happening. No. I mean, seriously, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to push this. In fact, it would be a sin, according to the Muslims who are at Congress, to say that, at the Congress hearing, to say that, to not, for a governor not to enforce. So they said that it would be a sin for a governor not to enforce it if he's a Muslim. So 8-year-old women? Yeah, no, they're not women, they're children, 8-year-old children. Now, everything he said, absolutely true according to Sharia. There is no minimum age requirement at all. It's just, can they endure it?
Single nation on the earth that's actually following Sharia. So
what are you talking about? What do you... Well, one, he doesn't have any... If he's being honest, he has no clue what Sharia is. But yes, there are over 50 Muslim nations. And yes, they follow Sharia in some regard. Now, if he's saying perfectly, they got to do it perfectly. Maybe not. Maybe they wiggle a little bit. But yeah, Sharia is the law of the land in a lot of these nations.
You know, Sharia is following the commandments that God gave us. And the actual term of jihad and the primary explanation of that terminology is that the greatest jihad is the battle within your own soul.
That is fast.
What? Yes and no. Yes and no. This is where he's playing stupid word games. Because the battle against jihad is broken up into two categories, the greater and the lesser jihad. The greater jihad is supposed to be what he's talking about, is the internal sort of struggle jihad that he's talking about. That's broken up within Sharia, yes. But there's also the lesser jihad. And they're commanded to do both continuously. It's not that by greater, it's like this is the only one you're supposed to do. No, you are commanded to do both. Participate in some way in both. It's a requirement.
That's actually the principle. Here's the double standards. In Europe, everything's Muslim migrants. I'm asking you, in the great state of Texas, what were the majority of the migrants coming over those borders?
They were not Muslims.
What were they, though?
They
Where were they
Hispanic.
from?
Hispanic.
Well, why don't they call them not even Latino migrants? Not even majority Catholic. You didn't hear them call them Catholic migrants.
Fair.
All you hear in Europe, Muslim migrants. So whenever something...
Because it's a cultural identity, because Islam is not just a religion, it is also a cultural identity as well. So there's multiple layers to Islam where it's more than just a religion.
It's horrible, disgusting, evil, wicked, attached to the word Islam, Islamist, Muslim, to continue to dehumanize them so that the military-industrial complex can continue to do what it's been doing for the last 50 years, in my opinion.
To Muslims and
No, you look at the sources and you're like, the sources all agree. Yes, Muhammad had sex with a prepubescent child at the age of 9. There's no question in that, according to the Muslim sources. You are to dehumanize Christians and Jews, according to the Quran. It specifically dehumanizes them. And it's been dehumanizing them since day one. So long before America was founded, long before this 50-year span he's claiming was done. Yeah, no. Everything he's saying there is not true.
Muhammad was visited by the angel Gabriel. And if you read the hadiths, he's visited by the angel Gabriel and he is squeezed and he is pressed and beaten by this angel.
Well, not really beaten, but squeezed and pressed, yes, until he could not bear it anymore. That's what the sources say. And that's definitely abnormal from the angels, because there's no reliable hadith that says that Muhammad was ever comforted by the angel Jibril. You have weak hadith, which I know Cora has brought up in some of her debates, saying, well, Muhammad was comforted by the angel Jibril. Those are weak hadith. Those are da'if. She's specifically using those as a way to try to wiggle out. But let's see what their response is, because that's actually pretty damning, because you look at the Bible and you see, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not from the angels. You don't see that with Muhammad. You specifically see him pressed. You specifically see him attacked and choked and pressed till he could not bear it anymore. And then the angel makes demands that, according to the Muslims, Muhammad cannot do. And then he does it again. He does it 3 times. Well, let's see how they deal with it.
And it's laughable for me to think that they're claiming an angel visited him in a cave.
For those of you that don't know, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was in a cave around like 5 to 10 miles away from Mecca, because they were idol worshippers at the time. So he wanted to go somewhere where he could pray to God alone without a bunch of distractions. He's climbed up a mountain by himself in the middle of nowhere, and he's praying to God, and an angel comes to him.
Well, he was in a cave in the middle of nowhere. And this is something that he did regularly. This wasn't unusual for him to do. He would climb up this mountain quite regularly.
Some of the estimates are it would take a running horse hundreds of years. Imagine how fast a horse can run. Hundreds of years just to like measure
One wing, right?
their wingspan.
Crazy stuff.
Who wouldn't be terrified? I would be terrified.
What? I would love to see the source on that, considering if that is true, there is no way you would physically be able to see them. Because a normal horse runs about 30 miles per hour. At least some horses can run up to 30 miles per hour, 24 hours, and then, of course, 365 days in a year. And then, of course, 100. So let's just do 100 years. I know he said hundreds, but let's do 100. How did it fit in the cave? I don't know, considering that wouldn't fit on Earth. The wingspan alone is over 26 million miles for just 100. I said couple, so I mean that's like couples too. So correction on that. That would be 52 million miles apart. That's how long the wingspan is, according to him. Where is the source on that? Now, it sounds like something stupid Muhammad would say. Don't get me wrong. It would sound like something stupid Muhammad would say. But that's a lot of miles. Yeah. The average distance between the Earth to the sun. Yeah, that's a long way. So that's why he's saying appeared to him in the cave was that. Bularchy. And I've read quite a few hadith. I've never seen that one. So either you're using a weak chain, because I don't normally read the weak hadith, because Muslims normally immediately complain when everyone brings up the weak hadith in order to justify anything.
Even though that being is not there to hurt you, it's extraordinary. It's supernatural.
Because every time you read the Bible and an angel visits someone, they get afraid and they say, wait, don't be afraid. They comfort the person that they visit. But for some reason, Muhammad is beaten to the ground and squeezed and tortured by this so-called angel.
Was not.
You could definitely say he was tortured, because he was ordered to read. He said, I could not read. So the angel Jibreel, according to them, squeezed Muhammad till he could not bear it anymore. Then the angel Jibreel again demands that Muhammad reads. Muhammad replies, I can't read. The angel Jibreel then presses him again until he cannot stand anymore. Commands him to read. He says, I cannot read. The angel presses him again until he could not stand it. And then finally, the angel gives him exactly what to say in order to get out of the situation. So, yeah. You could say that's torture in some regards.
Tortured. What are you talking about? Dude? He just makes stuff up.
He wasn't tortured like the prisoners of Abu Ghraib in Iraq.
What do you mean, just make stuff up? No. He's looking at the sources and saying, that sounds like torture to me.
Waterboarded to death. He wasn't tortured. That was torture, though. Innocent.
Okay. Look at this example, waterboarding. The way you waterboard someone, and if you're doing waterboarding correctly, you're not supposed to actually kill them. But let's say, hypothetically, you're waterboarded to death, like he's claiming. You're held down. You have a cloth put over your mouth and nose, and water poured over to simulate drowning. Why? Because you can't breathe. That is the same sort of situation you find yourself in if someone's pressing down on you and you can't bear it. You can't breathe. He's literally using the example that is very similar to what happened in the cave in order to try to disprove this guy saying it's torture. Oy.
People being rounded up and humiliated and tortured, waterboard. Many of them innocent.
Muhammad was visited.
Yeah, that, again, literally, dude, you're using an example of torture. I mean, you could have used any other example of torture. There's been many examples of torture throughout humanity. Why did you pick the one that deals with suffocation as an example? Oh, this definitely wasn't torture. And again, you did not address the main issue, which is when we look at the Bible and we see angels appearing before prophets in the Bible, there is fear not. Don't be afraid. There's comfort given. Even when the message is bad, it's still comfort given. But you have Muhammad, and he's immediately attacked. You do not see a parallel of that in the Bible or the Torah in any way, shape, or form.
By the angel Gabriel.
Any of the people you see online that are crying about Muslims, that are crying about Islam, I can guarantee they haven't had one bad interaction with a Muslim in person in their entire life. The whole reason.
What is he talking about? One, he's making extreme generalization, making extreme claim. which is not true. And even if they did, even if they did, which I've had situations that were not good that I found myself in with Muslims that did not like me. And Elle just had not too long a recent situation up in Dearborn, which I know she'll be eventually releasing the video on that, which was a bad situation. I mean, I would fall in this category. I've had bad situations. Yes, two of them threatened Elle with a screwdriver within the last 2 weeks. I know, but the people who are complaining, he knows for a fact they've never had a bad situation with a Muslim. Now, this is the straw man that he's attacking. He's saying the only reason why you would complain about Islam is if you had bad situations with Muslims in the past. No, I don't need that. I don't need to have that happen. Why? Yeah, it has happened, but I don't need to have that happen in order to criticize Islam. Why? Because random Muslims don't represent Islam. Just like I can't look at a cookout, a Muslim cookout, and say, oh, see, these people are just here celebrating, having a good old time, having fun, just being good old Americans, and they just happen to be Muslim too. What? No, that I wouldn't point to that. Now, I would go to the sources and say, which one more identifies with what Muhammad taught? What do the sources actually say? Oh, look. Here you go, violent subjugation, killing those who criticize Islam in any way, shape, or form, anything that Muhammad would take offense at, kill him for it. Okay, well, that kind of gives me who I should go against, and I don't have to personally, you know what? I did not live in Germany under Nazi control. I did not live there. I did not live through World War II. I didn't. I didn't live through the Holocaust. I wasn't a Jew through the Holocaust. But I can still look at it and say, no, that bad. That very, very bad. That's literally the argument he's giving here. Is if you weren't there, personally, you can't say anything about it. And the only reason you would object is if something bad happened to you anyway. So I discredit it. No, we can look at the ideology and say it's freaking screwed up. Yes, too. So Elle's got a lot of videos coming out, a lot of 360 videos still to release. The 360 videos takes a lot longer to process, and it's a different sort of way of handling it. So please be patient. If you guys want to see a lot more of the 360 videos, like when we were in Congress with the Muslims, they're debating IP. That was a fantastic time. It's cool to have the 360 because you can watch what is happening there, and then you can watch it again and see what the audience reaction was to some of the things that IP was saying. And he didn't hold back. Good on him. I was so happy. I was so overjoyed, which was like, you know what? I said this years ago in a stream that I want, because I kept having Muslims tell me, dude, you want the Quran to be banned. I'm like, no, I want the Quran to be read in Congress. I want it to be read and to be shown for what it is. And there's IP reading it in Congress. Oh my gosh. Well, it was one of the adjacent buildings, but it was called by Congress for its event. So, oh my gosh. That was cool.
I hate them is simply because of propaganda. And even if a Muslim did something wrong to them, they backstabbed them in business, or they did them dirty, it still wouldn't even disprove the faith, because Muslims...
I literally just said that, but that's how... Okay, so literally he's just discarding anything anyone would have to say against Islam, because if you're just saying it and you haven't had a bad situation, you're just speaking out your rear end. You don't actually care at all. And if you did have a bad situation, who cares? Because that was just an exception. Malarkey.
Are not perfect. Islam, the faith, is perfect. Any of the people you see online...
Or I studied Islam and I realized this is a bunch of garbage. That could be another option. I looked at Muhammad, who's supposed to be the code of conduct, and saying, man, this 50-plus-year-old man is over here raping a 9-year-old girl. That seems morally wrong to me. Yeah.
How often am I hearing nowadays from Christians that they want to go to holy war with Muslims again? How do you guys not see you're in the wrong here? Where do you see Muslims saying Christians need to die? I don't see it.
I have a folder. Saying that I need to die because of my video content on here, because of my religion. I need to be put to death. I see it quite often. I know David gets it quite often. I mean, seriously. His logic is, I haven't seen it, therefore it does not exist. That's stupid. And on top of that, guess what? We are according to Islam, according to your precious Sharia, according to your precious dirty Muhammad, we are at war. Why? Because Islam splits the world into two sections. You have the House of Islam over here, the nations that follow Islam over here. And then you have on the other side, the other house. The House of Peace? No. The House of Getting Along Together? No. The House of That's their religion and that's okay? No. It's the House of War. And that's where we currently are. We are currently in the House of War. So according to Islam, we are at war with Muslims in that regard. Even though I wouldn't say that we're at war, they say we are at war with them. Yeah, somehow us looking at saying, okay, well, we'll fight back. That's just it, right? We'll fight back is the problem. This is the same issue when the First Crusade went down into the Holy Lands. And they were coming down there because the pilgrims were being raped. They were being stolen. They were being killed. They were being mistreated in multiple different ways. And they're like, okay, fine. We got to protect our civilians who are going down here to go to the Holy Lands. We just want them to go down, do a pilgrimage and come back home and not be immediately killed or raped or everything they own stolen or them being taken into slavery. So they say, okay, well, we're going to take this crusade, pick up the swords. Let's go down. They get down there and the Muslim leaders who, by the way, showed up to enslave the new Christians coming down, looked at him and said, why are you armed? You shouldn't be armed. This should be easy. You're not supposed to protect yourself. That's the same thing he's doing here. He's like, you guys wanted to protect yourself? You guys want to defend yourself? Why would you do that? You're supposed to submit and die. Oh,
at all online or anywhere. I've never even met a Muslim that says that. And all I'm seeing on my feed lately is Christians begging for another crusade holy war. How you're falling for the propaganda. How do you not see that the media is controlling your brain? Detach from the propaganda. Look at Islam for what it is, bro. Look at the
yes, an evil ideology that wants to conquer the entire world. That's what Islam is. And guess what? Again, we are in the house of war. You are commanded to constantly fight against us in the house of war.
Teachings. Islam teaches you to have mercy. The first words of the book are in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. How often am I hearing now?
No, you're just twisting it. Yes, that's how, sure, the Quran says merciful. So what? Allah is not merciful to the unbelievers. Allah misguides the unbelievers in their unbelief. It's Allah who made me into a Christian. It's Allah who, according to Islam, led me to create this channel. It is Allah who has led me to destroy and help destroy Islam. That's what Allah has done according to Islam. So why are you getting in Allah's way? Why are you saying I shouldn't be doing that? Yeah, well, war isn't consensual. Yeah, okay, you got a point. Okay, you got a point. If Muslims declare war on us, then we are in war, if we want it or not. Absolutely true. And of course, since the beginning, Islam has declared war on every other nation. Everything that doesn't follow Islam, their select brand of Islam, they're at war with. So, yeah, us saying we should defend ourselves is very offensive to him. Yeah, media, no. Somehow he thinks, oh, the mainstream media is mind washing you guys. The mainstream media preaches Islam. The mainstream media promotes Islam in every way it can, and it hides the evils of Islam. I mean, for pity's sakes, how long did it take for Europe to finally wake up to the rape culture that's been going on from the Muslim migrants, the rape gangs going throughout the world, throughout their nation? Not throughout the world, just throughout Europe. There's still nations not woken up to this.
There really is a lot of peace in knowing that we're going to die one day, and knowing that all these problems are never going to matter. Every single person that's breathing and walking on earth right now will all be dead one day. Every single tree, every single insect, bird, elephant, molecule, it's all going to be gone. So what do you really take?
And you can come to that realization without Islam, by the way. You can just look at it and say, everyone dies. That's a fact of life. That's the one guarantee I can give you. Is that I can give you another guarantee, but it requires you to take some steps.
There really is a lot.
The only thing is, and I didn't realize that's all it was him basically saying, oh, everyone's going to die. Yes, everyone is going to die unless it's the very end. So what? The difference is in Christianity, I'm guaranteed salvation because it's not by my works or by anything that I have done. All I did is, yep, you can pay for it. I repent. I recognize what I did was wrong. I turn towards you. I accept what you did. That's it. In Islam, there is no guarantee because you're not even 100% sure you're following the right Quran, since there are over 30 Arabic Qurans out there. So you don't even know if you're reciting the right Quran to be able to be let into heaven to begin with. So you don't know. You don't know. You have no guarantee. Because if you're following a false doctrine, you will not be let in, because Allah does not love the disbelievers.
It's crazy that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, basically did like so many very similar miracles to Jesus, but it's like,
what? What on earth are you sniffing? Dude, whatever you're taking, stop it. Don't take any more drugs, man. I mean, the Quran is very clear. Muhammad never did any miracle. Ever. Period. How's there peace? There really isn't. He's trying to make it sound really good because you can say in Christianity that we have peace. We have peace about knowing of our deaths because we can, once we die, it's not the end for us. It's just the beginning. So it's the end of the suffering here and the beginning of our next life there. And we have guaranteed that is we have salvation. Where Islam, you have no guarantee. Either you are going to go for eternal damnation in hell. Well, sometimes they say hell is temporary. Sometimes they don't say hell is temporary. It counts on which hadith you believe. You have no guarantee. Not even Muhammad. Muhammad said he did not know what was going to happen to you or to him when he died. He didn't even know. And yet, for some reason, 2 million people follow Muhammad. That makes no sense to me. I'd rather follow the person who died and rose from the dead, who conquered death. That's the one I'm going to believe about dying, I think. I think I'm going to put my money on him. Yeah. So, yeah, no sense in that.
It's crazy. So many very
I'm sorry, I had to refresh my memories. Okay, so going back to this one here, Muhammad did so many miracles that was very, very, very clearly the same as Jesus. Where did Muhammad turn water into wine? I haven't seen that one. Where did Muhammad raise the dead? Where did Muhammad feed the multitudes in the Quran? And I'm just talking about the Quran, because Quran says that Muhammad didn't do any miracles except for, the revelation. Because after all, that's so totally not evidence of a false prophet. Is that, I can't do any miracles except give you these special revelations. Where did Muhammad raise the dead? He had an uncle that he loved that died. Muhammad never rose him from the dead. He stayed dead. Why? Because Muhammad didn't have any actual spiritual power. He was not actually a prophet. He just went straight to just follow whatever I say whenever I say it. So let's see what else he has to say, because no, the Quran says Muhammad never did any miracles. He specifically, Allah said he was going to give them a sign. Now, you could say that. Now, some Muslims will claim that, you see, Muhammad split the moon in two and sealed it back together. Yeah, there's some Muslims who will claim that. One, that's not what the Quran says. It says the hour has come and the moon has split in two. Implying that at the end of the age, it's split in two. Now, if you look at the hadith, it's very clear that it was during the lifetime of Muhammad that it was split in two, and one half of it was beside one mountain, and one half was beside another mountain. So it's quite a bit away. So you could super glue it back together. And for some reason, no one else in the world except for Muhammad saw this happening. There are no eyewitnesses. Now, some Muslims can claim, oh, well, they transmitted it, but no, we have no eyewitnesses, and we have entire civilizations built around looking at the stars in the sky, and yet not a single one of them noticed the biggest, brightest thing in the night sky splitting in two and coming back together. I think that would be a pretty big indication. Never mind that there would be multiple issues here on Earth as far as waves, how the gravity of the moon splitting in two would have massive tidal disruption to the Earth itself. Now, you could wave that away, say, well, it's a miracle. Fine. I believe in miracles. I believe God could do miracles. But it's the fact of the reason why the miracle was supposed to happen was it was a witness to the unbelievers of Muhammad's prophethood, according to the hadith. And no one in the world recorded it. I know some Muslims will claim that there was a king in India. Yeah, he did it. The king in India recorded it, and he converted to Islam, except you look into the history of him, and most Indian historians nowadays think that wasn't actually a person. He was just like a collaboration of a bunch of people all together. But even if he existed, the dynasty that he's with didn't start until 200 years after Muhammad's death. So a little bit of a time gap there. I've also had some talk about monks up in England witnessing it. But those monks, I think, lived about I think there was another 400-year gap between their life and Muhammad's. There's a larger gap to that one. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. But yeah, no eyewitnesses, because it didn't happen. But hopefully he lists out some miracles. I've actually not seen all of these. I just saw the beginnings of them. And I'm like, oh, I could react to these. Let's go. This should be fun. So let's see what else he has to say.
similar miracles to Jesus, but it's like we don't worship him.
He said countless and countless of times, I am not your Lord.
And he doesn't even take credit for writing the book. What kind of false prophet doesn't?
Neither does Muhammad. It wasn't Muhammad. One, he didn't write it. So if you're saying, well, Jesus had to write it, Muhammad didn't write the Quran. Muhammad didn't even order his people to compile the Quran. He just ordered them to recite it. In fact, that was a big discussion in the Sahih Hadith about Muhammad's companions arguing with one another, saying, "Far be it from us to do something that Muhammad himself did not command us to do." Yeah, Mo was just a warner. What? That's some sort of proof. Okay, I'm gonna rewind a little bit.
In the book, what kind of false prophet doesn't take credit for writing the greatest book of all time? I'm not the author.
Is this supposed to be proof that he is a true prophet?
I'm just getting the message. It's just being sent to me. Come on, bro. It's too obvious.
There's a verse in the Quran that states him saying, "I am not your Lord, fam."
It's crazy.
Okay, the only place you could find that Jesus allegedly said, "I am not your Lord," is in the Quran. As the Quran is the only witness, because Jesus said multiple times that I am God. Literally every false prophet. Yeah, I know. It's like, what? They don't claim that it's them. They claim that there's some sort of magical revelation. You have Joseph Smith, who claimed basically the same thing Muhammad did, almost to a 1-to-1 ratio. So, I mean, if you just look at all the other false prophets throughout history, no, they're not claiming that this revelation is coming from them. It's always God who's giving them that, and it's God's authority. I think he's referring to the Bible as being the greatest book of all time. Or maybe he's referring to the Quran as being the greatest book, which hasn't. I mean, it's had massive issues, massive impacts in humanity. I mean, there is somewhere estimated of 270 million dead because of the Quran and Muhammad. So yeah, there's that.
That the Prophet Muhammad, peace be.
But I like that he starts off with, "Oh, he did all these miracles. Name one." Moving on now.
Where are you going if America falls?
I don't think we survive, brother.
What?
I think red flashes. I don't think we make it out of this. There's no mentioning of this place anywhere in the scriptures, bro. Yet how many signs the Prophet Muhammad gave that came true? He's
not a single one. Unless you're saying just by stupid happenstance, because it was so, his alleged prophecy is so generic that it just could be fulfilled by like 10 different ways, or that it was stated as one thing and they twisting it to make it fit, which most of the time I'm actually on the Quran side. I'm like, guys, the Quran doesn't say that. Whenever they claim that, oh, well, the miracle of how the human body develops in the woman, how the fetal development is. And I'm like, it doesn't line up at all. Well, the expander of the universe, it says the universe is expanding. And you look at it, no. Allah's claiming to be the expander of the universe, which in context was talking about creation, which makes sense that Allah would make that claim. I'm not even disagreeing that Allah is making that claim, that he created everything. What I'm saying is Muslims like to twist the Quran in order to make it fit into these concepts nowadays. And it's like, dude, you guys are abusing your own scriptures. I don't like it when Christians do it. I'm not going to like it when Muslims do it. I like being fair. I mean, I'll point out when, it's really crappy, like the moon splitting, the whole thing with the moon splitting, I'll point that out. But when you take that and make it something that's clearly claiming that it's not even claiming itself, it's like, it seems kind of unfair, at least in my book.
That soon the shepherds of our people, the Arabs, they're in the middle of the desert, nothing there, will come.
No, it says naked and barefoot Arabs. I don't know of any naked and barefoot Arabs or buildings, large buildings, which is what he's referring to. And again, if you look in the context of Muhammad's time, that is 2-story tall buildings. He was talking about them competing in it. But there are no nomadic barefoot people making tall structures. That's not a thing.
Compete with one another to make buildings that touch the sky. And when one builds one, the other will say, I'll make one even bigger. We're all the greatest skyscrapers in the world. These are his words, Danny Jones. You tell me how an illiterate Arab in pre-ancient Arabia.
You're not even quoting him correctly. You're literally paraphrasing him and saying, these are his words. I'm telling you exactly his words. It's like, no, you're not. You're paraphrasing, which I don't have a problem with paraphrasing. Just don't tell me you're quoting him.
Could have known that specifically.
Wait, what's the answer? Is it Dubai or New York?
In Mecca, Saudi Arabia, they're building massive towers. They're going back and forth. Qatar, Dubai. They're building the biggest structures on earth in the same.
How could he known that? Almost like every single developed nation throughout history built structures bigger than 2-story buildings. Because remember, that's actually the requirement.
Exact place that he said it would happen. How did he know?
Well, maybe the people that are building those towers are reading the Quran, trying to fulfill a prophecy.
There's a lot of prophecies. One of them was.
Actually, that's a very good point, because even if you say that that's what it is, I mean, they could be, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Again, I don't think that was the prophecy given either, and I don't think it's intended as a prophecy, but it is saying something about the end times. This is supposed to happen. So let's hear about his next prophecy.
The time will come where people will place instruments, musical instruments, on their ears, and they will dance into the night.
That's pretty wild. That's true.
All of the minor signs, and I invite the audience, study the end of times.
No, stop, dude, seriously, stop paraphrasing everything. Give us actual sources. Oh. It's funny when the comments are going against him. Oh my gosh.
Muslims want to eradicate Christians. True or false?
True and false. Actually, if I was giving this answer, that would be what I'd say, because eventually it's going to happen, because according to them, their Jesus is going to come back. He's going to do 3 things. He's going to kill the pig, he's going to break the cross, and he's going to end the jizya. So he's going to destroy Christianity at that point. But until then, we are supposed to be paying the Muslims for protection money the entire time. So true and false. This is a condition of win. Well, let's see what they say.
False.
Why?
In the first 11 years, the Prophet Muhammad and his followers were persecuted, murdered, massacred by their own families, their own tribes, because they refused to keep worshiping all the false idols and gods. And they were commanded by the Prophet to return to the God of Abraham. Abraham, peace be upon him, the father of the prophets, had 2 lineages. One was the Israelites, one became the house of the Arabs. The Muslims believe when the Israelites killed.
There is actually no historical evidence of that at all. That is a stretch at best, historically speaking.
John the Baptist, peace and blessings be upon him, because he is a prophet mentioned in the Holy Quran. And then they tried to do the same to Christ, because that's another difference that Muslims.
According to every historical evidence, according to atheist scholars, historians, yes, Jesus died on the cross. There's too much historical evidence. If we know anything about history, we know Jesus died on the cross. But of course, that's the one that Islam decides it wants to contradict. Now, of course, there is a reading of the Quran they could do. They could argue that Jesus did die on the cross, and Allah is just saying that you had to get Allah's permission to have Jesus die on the cross.
Have with Christians, we don't believe that he was crucified. We believe God saved him.
Okay.
Which is why he will return. So we do believe that he rose to the heavens, but he will come back to finish his mission towards the end of time.
But you believe he was a prophet?
And what is he going to do when he does that? This guy, he has to know the truth. He has to know that when Jesus returns, he's going to break the cross, end the jizya, and kill the pig. There's no question about that, guys. Yeah, he's trying to sell it as something so embarrassing.
Not necessarily the Son of God.
We believe he's the prophet without fault, born to the Virgin Mary, peace and blessings be upon her. He was without sin. He was as perfect as a human being can be. And that he will return.
He's the only prophet without sin, because Muhammad sinned, all the other prophets sinned. Jesus is the only one without sin.
Towards the end of time to save all of humanity. When he came the first time around, he didn't come for all of humanity. He said this in the Bible. When the Canaanite woman came up to her and said, my son's possessed, he said, woman, I have only come for the lost sheep of Israel. I came.
If you only look at it, again, selective verse editing here. No. He also sent all of his disciples into all the world, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Oh, wait. There's the Trinity. But again, he's not telling you what the Islamic sources say about. He is omitting that because he knows that he's to come back. He knows. He actually knows that he's supposed to kill the Christians and enforce Sharia on the entire world.
To put the Israelites back on the path.
Muslims want to erect.
Yeah, idiot. He still healed the child. Yes. But again, selective editing. He doesn't want to have that part of the story because that doesn't fulfill his desires.
I love Muslims as people.
Muslims want to.
False. Some of the chat is hilarious. Yeah, there's some people actually calling him out for this garbage.
I love Muslims as people. But Islam as a religion is a religion of war and a religion of division. And a religion of...
And is that why?
Oh, false. I'm just going to say it's false because I don't want to use sources. Except if you look at the life of Muhammad, you see war. You look at Sharia, you see jihad. You see, if you look at the life of the companions of Muhammad, you see war after war after war justified by Quran 9:29. Why? Because the Jews say that Jesus is the son of Allah. Jews say that Ezra is the son of Allah, and Christians say that Jesus is the son of Allah. And that's why we are to be killed. So, yeah. It's a great question. You see, these are great questions. Because that's why is the answer. Because Muhammad is, according to the Quran, Muhammad's a code of conduct for all mankind. He's the one you're supposed to follow. But yes, this is a blaringly obvious issue. Even if you want to be as favorable as possible to Muhammad and not call him a madman pedo, which you have a good, you might be underplaying him there. But yes, that's very generous already. If you want to go even more generous and say, you know what, hypothetically, if Muhammad was like a really good guy anyway, but still had sin, as the Islamic sources say, why aren't you following Jesus, who is perfect, who's sinless, who is not touched by Satan? It's actually Jesus and Mary who aren't touched by Satan, according to Islam. Why aren't you following them? Instead, you follow Muhammad, an imperfect person. And again, Jesus is given the most incredibly crazy, epic titles in Islam. He's the Messiah. He's the Word of Allah incarnate. He's a spirit from him. It's like he's got these huge titles. Oh, did he do a huge thing? No. What did he do throughout his entire ministry here, according to Islam? What is the one thing that's left of his teachings? According to Islam, the biggest religion of shirk that exists is because of Jesus and his absolute and complete failure. Islam insults the crap out of Jesus. In Islam, Jesus is an absolute and complete failure. Oh yeah, I know that it definitely Malik's crew like to go around and say, well, Jesus is a blessing according to the Quran. Not if you look at what he did. If you look at what he did by functionality, he was a curse. If you look at Christianity, you see that he's a blessing for all mankind because he's the only way to salvation is through the blood of the cross. Well, let's see what their objections are to this. Because yes, Islam, I mean, you have the House of War, you have the House of Islam. If you're not in the House of Islam, not ruled by Sharia, then you are automatically defaulted into the House of War. Which, guess what? That's where I'm at right now.
Your Christian ancestors could not get along at all ever in the history of the world, and so they basically became atheists, in my opinion. Is that why within the
In your opinion, no, not every Christian in history became atheists. And Christianity in general was a peaceful religion up until it started to engage with Islam. The expansion of Christianity in the Roman Empire was peaceful. There is no example of sort of the rebellion that you see within Islam, the constant infighting immediately within Islam. As soon as Muhammad died, there was infighting on succession. You do not see that in Christianity. What you do see is a parallel to what happened with Muhammad's companions is actually secular worlds. Whenever you see a king pass away without a clear succession, you see those sort of infightings, the exact same thing we see in Islam. So what does that lead me to deduce? It's the same as a secular society going from one king to another. There's literally no difference between that and Islam. But again, no. Islam, I mean, for pity's sake, the first wars fought after the death of Muhammad was against other Muslims, was subjugation of other Muslims to Abu Bakr. I mean, infighting happened immediately. You don't see that in Christianity at all.
100 years, these Christian nations almost wiped each other out, where nuclear weapons had to be used to end the war between themselves. Is that why?
No, those were secular nations. And you know that because Hitler was not a Christian. Although he had a very high opinion of Islam in some of his writings, very high opinion of Islam. And he used Christianity to get his ends. And if Islam was there, he would have used Islam to get his ends too. So no, not true at all. And again, Japan was never a Christian nation, which is who we dropped the bombs on in order to stop the war. Now, if you are pro-nuclear bomb or not, as far as that goes, I'll let you know, studying history, studying Japanese history, very, very, very well, by the way. Yeah, it was needed. Because if not, they would have fought to every single last man, woman, and child would have fought against America coming in. And they would have fought to the death. And that would have been horrendous. It had to be something so severe and so humbling that it stopped and completely deflated them. So, yeah. When did Japan become a Christian nation? Yep. Japan was a Christian nation. Japan's history has been specifically against Christianity in extreme steps to where they would crucify Christians, historically speaking. I still have a deep love for their history, though. Still like that. Yeah, and I'm the one saying, yeah, we need to drop the bombs on them, but I'm like, the reason why I know is Japanese history so well is because as a kid growing up, I was absolutely in love with anything Japanese. So I mean, even the logo here, the little logo here, I have a sword on the back, which is a katana on the back, just as a throwback, because that's what I had growing up, as I was like really big into it. I still have an extreme respect and love for Japan. It's just, yeah, I know their history. No, they were never Christian, and they definitely had problems with Christianity going in. Definite problems, but yeah, they were fought to the last. So,
The Orthodox Christians of Russia and Ukraine are wiping each other out right now.
Now, that's true that there's a lot of screwed up stuff happening in Russia right now. But the fight between Russia and Ukraine is not a religious fight. And this is a common mistake with Muslims. They just assume that everything is a religious fight. Everything is a religious war. Because, and I don't understand, because again, he's supposed to be this revert who's not supposed to be a grown-up Muslim. But yeah, it's not, all wars are not religious. It may have zero religious element in it, but in Islam, that's the only way they think about it is through Islamic war. So every time we've had any sort of conflict with the Middle East, it's always been a war. It's always been jihad. It's always been a religious war to them, even though it wasn't a crusade to us. Yeah, that's not my brain is blown by how stupid the arguments were in this one. I have 20 of these to go through. I'm hoping I can actually make it through all of them. Hey, Carol B, I'm going to take a break here. Get a look at the live chat. Hey, Carol B, welcome. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. Yeah, I was one before that was a real thing in the West. I really, yeah, I have a deep respect for their culture, although I definitely disagree with their theology and how they've handled a lot of their principles, but still loved it. Considering one of my favorite movies growing up, whenever I turned 18, one of my biggest gifts was The Last Samurai, which I really liked that one. I thought it was pretty decently done. Not great, but decent.
Some people like to say Allah is Satan, the Quran's from Shaitan, the devil. Islam teaches you that.
No. You see, what makes you think that? Because what makes me think that is because guess what? The Quran says he is the devil. Because I go to the Bible, which was written long beforehand, which is reliable scripture according to the Quran, and I see the father of lies, the greatest of all deceivers. I see that is Satan. And then I go to the Quran. I open up the Quran, and what do I see here? Allah is the greatest of all deceivers, and he's boasting about it. Yeah, that doesn't take much brain power to realize, well, that's not right. Now, a lot of times they'll try to mistranslate that, say, oh, he's the greatest of all planners or the greatest of all plotters. No. The Arabic there, mocker, means to deceive. There's never a good connotation of that word ever used. It's always bad. It's always with the act to mislead. So the greatest of misleaders, the greatest of liars. That's who wrote the Quran, according to the Quran. So that's where I get my source from.
Devil's your biggest enemy. Teaches you to believe in one God. Pray to nothing but God.
No, actually, according to the Islamic sources, the devil's kind of the hero. It's real interesting, right? The devil is the one who did not commit shirk at the beginning of creation when everything else committed shirk by bowing down and worshiping a man. Adam. Even Allah commanded shirk. And Satan was the only one to stand there and say, Allah, that doesn't seem right. Why am I worshiping a man? I'm not supposed to be worshiping a man. It is not Satan who misguides people. It's Allah who misguides people. Who deceives people? Allah. Who sends people to hell? Allah. Who makes people Christian? Allah. Who makes people Jewish? Allah. If someone is misguided, like I said, Allah is the one who just guides. And who can find a way? No one. They can't even be rescued if they're misguided by Allah. Who created the most evil religion in Islam, according to Islam, that promotes shirk everywhere? Allah did. Because Allah created Christianity, according to the Islamic sources. So I'm left with one answer based upon the Quran itself. I read the Quran and it tells me that Allah is Satan.
Believe in the messengers. Jesus. Believe that Mother Mary was a virgin. Believe in past revelation. Believe in Judgment Day. Believe in God's divine decree. It only calls you to good.
This kid's only been a Muslim for...
No. It causes you to follow exactly how Muhammad was, his life, the Sunnah of Muhammad, which includes raping young girls as young as 9. It also includes a lot of other things that you're not including in this. Now, even if you want to say, hypothetically, I'm going to give you best benefit of the doubt that it's just leading you to do good things. It's just telling you to do this. How on earth could it be bad? Joseph Smith would say the same thing. His followers would say the same thing. Just because it says do something good and teaches to be nice, according to you, that still wouldn't mean by default that it's good. That still by itself wouldn't mean that's true. If all Satan has to do is get you to not accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, which that's all he has to do for you to enter into hell for eternity, I mean, he doesn't care if you're Muslim, atheist, or whatever. In fact, that's why Islam is the greatest witness to Christianity's truth. Don't believe me? I did a whole live stream on why Islam is the perfect anti-Christian religion. And in so doing, proves that Christianity is the only religion that matters. Because it's so finely tuned against it. It's not finely tuned against Buddhism. It's not finely tuned against paganism. It's not finely tuned against anything else. It's not finely tuned against atheism. No. It's finely tuned against Christianity in a way that's unique. And why? Because that's the only one that matters. Because if it can keep you away from Christianity, then the devil has already won. Satan has already won and accomplished his desire in your life. That's why.
Less than like a year and a half. And within a year and a half, have this much passion and conviction, bro. Like, to me, it's just insane.
It's amazing. Some people like to say, oh, it's Satan.
Oh, he's using his friend as an example just because he feels passionate about something. You can feel passionate about something in 15 minutes. You can feel very passionate about something in 15 seconds. That doesn't mean anything. Your passion does not determine the truth of a matter. It doesn't.
From the Muslim perspective, when we look at John 15 and John 16 in the Bible, okay, Jesus said, I have done the works that no man had done, yet they don't accept me, right? So the prince of this world now stands condemned.
He's doing miracles. And
I return back to the Father. I'm going back. He didn't say I'm about to die. He didn't say I'm about to be crucified. I'm going back to the Father. John 16, I have much more to tell you, but you are not ready. For when the Spirit of truth comes, he shall guide.
Okay, stop. Did Jesus say in the Gospel of John that he was to die? Absolutely. John 3:14 through 15. Jesus says, and as Moses lift up the serpent in the wilderness, for those of you that remember, that's a serpent on the staff in the wilderness, as he lifted up, even so much must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whomsoever believes in him may have eternal life. That is John 3:14 through 15. Just like the serpent was lifted up on a pole, the Son of Man will be lifted up on a pole. And why? So that people can have eternal life. I can't imagine being more clear than that. And yet he's claiming, oh, well, Jesus never said he was going to die, except he did. In multiple sections, multiple passages, talk about Jesus saying, I'm going to Jerusalem to die. But yet they tried to deny that very basic fact. Because they want to cherry pick. That's what they're doing. They're cherry picking verses in order to try to make themselves look legitimate.
He will not speak on his own, but whatsoever he hears from the Father, he will make it known to you. And you will know he came from us, for he will mention my name.
Wait. He came from who? From who? From who? From who? From us. Who's us? Oh, the Father and Jesus. From us. to you. Did Muhammad come from Jesus and the Father to us? No, not according to Islam. Allah is the one who sent him. You look at other passages, you very clearly see that Jesus is the one who sends the Holy Spirit. He's sending them. On top of that, if you continue reading, you find out that the Spirit of truth is to be with us for all eternity, to the end of the age. He's supposed to be with us. Where's Muhammad right now, buddy? He did. He is in his tomb. Guess who does not have a tomb? Even in Islam. That is Jesus Christ. Does not even have a tomb in Islam. Yeah. Yet for some reason, you claim to follow a dead man instead of the one that you still believe is living to this day. Interesting.
He is preluding to the Prophet Muhammad. There's no other human being that has ever come after him. And it's going back to what...
We don't claim that that's a human being. We claim that it's a spirit because it's described as something that is eternal, that can be eternally dwelling with us, that it can dwell with the disciples of Jesus, in the disciples, which is what it says. Muhammad did not dwell within the disciples. We're not going to the Al-Zut here. Just being clear.
The Quran saying, you guys think you killed him. Jesus tells you in John 15, John 16, I'm going back to the Father. I'm out. He's praying in Matthew 26. Oh, Father, I'm in trouble. Please help me get this cup to pass. Make this cup pass. I'm in trouble. He's begging to be saved. We believe.
But not your will, not my will, but yours be done. Now, it's got that passage there is one of my favorite passages in the Bible. Not because of what the Muslims claim it is, because it's something so completely different. You see, the first Adam in a garden committed the first sin. Adam and Eve in the garden committed the first sin through their actions, saying, not your will, Lord, but ours be done. Here you have the second Adam in another garden saying, not my will, but yours be done. It's a parallel. It's showing you the way, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is demonstrating it there. Yet they will say, oh, well, Jesus didn't want to, so obviously God took him up. Look at this. Let's even examine the painting, the picture that he's painting here. So Jesus is there. He is sent. He's given all these miracles. He's given them the Injil. He's been handed it. He's supposed to be preaching this thing. He's supposed to be telling his followers about it. There's no proof that this ever exists after Jesus goes away, by the way. And then now he's in trouble. Oh no, he needs help. He needs help. So he prays to the Father, which again, Allah is a father in no sense of the word. But here we go. He's praying to the Father. Says, oh, Father, please help me. And then Allah is supposed to like pick him up and like, okay, here we go. I'll make someone else suffer in your place, by the way. So you have substitutionary atonement there because someone is being substituted for Jesus on the cross. So penal substitution right there. But he says, okay, no, I'll save you. I'll pull you up into heaven because you screwed up so massively that the only way I can save your rear end is by creating the largest religion on earth that, according to Islam, is teaching nothing but the worst sin possible. And yet they say they love Jesus. And yet they say they honor Jesus. But he is a royal screw up, according to their scriptures, according to the Hadith, according to the Quran, and according to this guy here.
God heard that prayer. We believe God said, you're in trouble, Jesus, like Star Trek. Beam him up. And he will.
He literally saying what I said. Instead, it could have just been that God left as a miracle, and there you go. But no, he's got to have that substitution because some explanation has to be there.
You know why? Because he wasn't crucified. Because if he would have had his death, he would have been buried like every other human. That's why.
He's returning.
He's coming back because he never finished his life.
His mission's not done.
And to clarify the message, this is from the Muslim perspective. From the Muslim perspective, when we look...
From the Muslim perspective, he is coming back to do the three things I said at the beginning, which he doesn't want to say, but he does actually know the source because he keeps talking about it. So he's got to have read it. He's going to break the cross, kill the pig, and the jizya. Why? Because you're going to be able to have two options at that point. It's going to take one of the options away for all the Christians. You can either pay the jizya. You can no longer pay the jizya. You either have to convert to Islam or die. Those are the two options left at that point. And guess what? As I've done in a previous video, a previous live stream, there's an incredible amount of parallel between the end times prophecies and what's supposed to happen according to Islam at the end of the world and what is found in Revelation. The only difference is who the good guys are. Who reigns for 7 years? Oh, their Isa reigns for 7 years. You look at the Bible, the Antichrist reigns for 7 years. Which was written first? Fill in the blank.
Look at John 15.
My biggest advice to getting your iman back after sinning is firstly, not telling anyone about the sin. Don't tell.
Absolutely. According to, this is something completely different from Christianity, but he's right. He's on this one. You're not to tell anyone about your sin. You are to hide your sin. You're to hide it. And if you find out about someone else's sin, you're supposed to help hide it as well. In Christianity, we're supposed to call out one another's sin. We're supposed to help each other through that sin. And we're supposed to confess our sin to one another. What's one of the worst things you can do in Islam is confess your sins. That's one of the worst things you can do.
Anyone about the sin, because once you tell someone about the sin, there's a few different places that can go. It can lead to them doing the sin, and then okay, now those people that you're around are doing it as well, so it's going to make it more like.
Or you tell them they committed a sin and it is wrong, and you need help to not commit it anymore, which is confession. You're confessing your sins to one another. You're confessing your sin to God. But no, you're supposed to hide sin in Islam. And this isn't some sort of demonic religion, surely.
Likely that you're going to do it. If you tell other people your sins, you're more likely to remember it because you're talking about it more. So there's a bunch of different wisdoms to why you shouldn't do that. My biggest advice to...
I love this comment on there. That is terrible advice. But that's Islamic. That is the Islamic advice. That's what Islam tells you to do. You are to hide your sins because it's Allah who's actually hiding it. And if you are the one who reveals your sin or you reveal the sin of someone else, you're the one who's working against Allah.
But you have to believe in Jesus to even be a Muslim. Like you can't go to heaven as a Muslim if you don't believe in Jesus.
No, you can't.
And they think we're lying. Like they think we don't
literally
mean
think
this.
No, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to believe in the Islamic Jesus, not the Christian Jesus, because they're two different Jesuses. That's what.
But you don't believe he's God. I'd say 90% of Christians I talk to, if I ask them, do you believe God is our creator? They say yes. And then I say, do you believe that Jesus is the creator of the universe? They say no. We can't be brothers.
What do you mean? Then they're not Christian. They're literally not Christian then. You cannot have that. You can't have that contradiction. You have to believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, that he is God, as he says. He is the creator. Nothing was created that wasn't created through him, according to John. So you have to believe that in order to be Christian. If you're not, then you're not a Christian.
Christians because we're called Muslim instead of just a different branch of Christianity. They keep saying this on Instagram.
Because you're not a different branch of Christianity, you're a different religion. Well, why don't you just call us a different branch of Christianity? Because you're not. You don't meet the definition.
Instagram reels, because they know how divided they are as well. The Muslims are going through the same thing. They say, forget if you're Catholic, forget if you're this denomination, Protestant, whatever. We should all come together for our love of Jesus. Why not include the Muslims in that? But you have to believe in Jesus.
You don't love the Jesus that the Catholics love. You don't love the Jesus that the Eastern Orthodox love. You don't love the the Jesus that the Protestants love. You don't love the Jesus that Christianity loves. Just like Mormons don't love the Jesus that we love. Just like Jehovah's Witness don't love the Jesus we love. They have a different definition, and that matters. Oh, hey, welcome. Yes, in Islam, Allah punishes you for not sinning. In fact, there's a hadith that talks about if you were not to sin, Allah would wipe you out and replace you by people who would sin and then seek his repentance. That is Sahih Muslim. Was it 2790 49? 2790 49. 2749. Sahih Muslim 2749. That's the reference.
You can't be a Muslim and go on Epstein's Island.
Finally, last one. Okay, you can't be a Muslim and go on Epstein's Island. Why? Because literally Muhammad would have been the first one signed up. He'd been like, what? You guys are dedicating a whole island to this? Sign me up. Where do I go?
You can't be a Christian and go on Epstein's Island and do the shit they did.
Yes, you can't be, well, you can be a Christian who is a sinful individual. You can't be in an active relationship with Christ. If you are participating in that sin, you can go to the island, accept Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior and repent. Absolutely can do that.
I don't give a fuck. You could call yourself whatever you want. You can have an Arab name. It doesn't mean that you're a Muslim, though. You understand? God knows what's in your heart. And
oh, that's the out. So if there's a Muslim who went to Epstein's Island, he's not a real one. He's not. We're just going to whitewash it. Except Muhammad definitely would have been the first one to sign up for that.
What your actions are. So,
and again, they had a piece of the Kaaba. I wonder how they got that.
More than a terrorist can, right? If you take one human life that's innocent in Islam, you're fucked, bro. Excuse my language. You're in serious trouble. You can't.
Except what's the definition of innocent? It's not. Anyone who's a disbeliever is not innocent. Anyone who is not a Muslim is not innocent. Anyone that is a Muslim, by the way, is not innocent either. That's not how that works. Everyone's touched. The only one that would be innocent would have been Jesus, because he was the only one not touched by Satan.
And do Allah, you can't. One innocent life, including your own. If you commit suicide, you're cooked in Islam. You go to hell forever. There's no fucking 72 virgins. Pour me a quarter.
Absolutely. You definitely get your hories. I love how he's not using any actual references for this. He's just pulling it out of his rear end.
It was light, let's party. No, you're going to fucking hell in this religion. But the news and the movies, what do they show? Every movie's like, Rahman, I got to see for it. Allahu Akbar! So that you will even hate.
That's the only guarantee in the Islamic sources that you get into paradise. That's the only guarantee, is that you die in jihad. That's the guarantee that you get into paradise. So what on earth is he talking about?
And it's done on purpose, Julian, so that you will hate the word that is a cognate in all three religions. You will hate the word Allah, which is literally the word for God in all three faiths. That's why it's done, to desensitize you, make you literally curse.
No, it's not. It's not no. You go, God has a specific name in the Old Testament. He's a specific name in the New Testament. Yahweh. Guess where Yahweh is not listed? In the Quran. It's not one of Allah's 99 names. Nope. Yahweh is not one of it. Hey, brother Eli, welcome. Love you too, brother. Thank you very much for the super chat. Wow. Okay. Weird. So thank you very much. In case for some reason you didn't hear me, and I miss you already, brother. I love you too, man. Love you too.
You can't be a Muslim and go on Epstein's Island. Sensitize you, make you literally curse the name of.
Oh, that was it.
You can't be.
That was it, because they're trying to claim that. Really, that was all. Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. Oh, wow. Okay, so we've gone through 20 in the last 2 hours. We've gone 2 hours and 20 minutes. We've gone through 20 of their videos on TikTok. That's what garbage they're pushing. No, they don't understand Islam. I do want to see the poll here. Where's my poll? Where'd my poll go? I don't know. It's somewhere. I'm sure of it. There we go. Okay, what's the poll say? So 83% of you say no. Only 17 say yes. I mean, that could be it's a kind of a crapshoot between the two, because you could say, yeah, so totally. They definitely understand it and they are lying. True. Or they can just not understand it at all and be just lying and telling them whatever they've been told, which means they could believe what they say, although it might not be true. So, yeah. Let's see here. So let's go ahead. One last video clip that I did want to go over is Lily J had she had a video clip here that I wanted to add since last live stream we were talking about Lily J. Super short clip with no Quran or Hadith references. You can see very little of their ones had any sort of actual Quran or Hadith references. In fact, I think they had a couple of Qurans. I don't think they had any Hadith references, really. So let's see what Lily J has to say. If you guys are not familiar, Lily J has been going through a little bit of a scandal. Basically, she's been caught making AI videos of her non-profit organization, such as like rewards she was given, her feeding children, that sort of thing. So let's see what she has to say here.
Really believe all this propaganda online about me? No. This won't stop me. I'm going to get even louder. Look.
Propaganda from whom? From like Dean Responds? From like Fareed Responds? From Muslim channels? I mean, Christians are also calling this out because I just don't like people being scammed. But that's all that she is, after all. It's just a scam artist. So let's see here what happens. So let's see what she claims. Maybe this could be easily solved by saying, here's the location, here's the place, here's the freaking bakery that's making the bread. Never mind it being croissants, which it's clear that you don't understand the history of croissants, because that was a victory. It was a victory pastry over the Ottoman Empire as a sign of destruction of Islam. So I would find it hilarious if you are actually making those and giving it to Muslims as, here you go. Because the whole reason they exist is because they wanted a victory pastry for defeating the Ottomans. They came back, and that's why it's in the moon shape, is because it's supposed to be the crescent moon of Islam being eaten by the Europeans. Well, that's the history of the croissant.
My team told me not to respond to these allegations because they are just so ridiculous. But this has just gone way out of proportion.
What, the kids not having mouths when you're claiming you're feeding them, or the sign disappearing and moving, or another banner disappearing in multiple locations, or the fact that, according to the governments that you claim you're working in, have no clue about your charity at all, or where your orphanage is, even though legally you're supposed to register your orphanage there. Really? I mean, seriously, Muslims, if any of you buy this, there's a freaking bridge I can be selling you.
We'll be posting a long video today exposing the truth, going live with the teams to show you all the aid is real, and that this is all just a carefully orchestrated attack against me. I expect apologies from every single hater online who jumped to
No. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If you showed us actual receipts, okay. If you show us actual receipts for it, sure. Sure, I don't have a problem with that. But I would have to take quite a bit. I mean, if you showed us locations, if you showed us documentation, with the very fact that no one could find anyone that worked at any of your charities, or any of the orphanages, it's a pretty bad sign. They called her out, if that's what you're asking. They called her out as being like, hey, we can't even find any evidence of this at all. Our investigative teams cannot find anything on this. There's some serious question, including a video of her sending off Qurans, her and her stepdaughter sending off Qurans, and it's all fake. The truck never existed. The Qurans didn't exist in it. It's all fake. It's all just green screen. It looks like a scam. It 100% looks like a scam. It walks like a scam. It quacks like a scam. I mean, for pity's sakes, we've been calling her from the beginning as a grifter. She's very obviously a grifter, using Islam to boost herself. And she has also, evidence has emerged of her stealing in the past. So, I mean, with her theft history, in addition to her grifting, like all get out, including being in Mecca before she's supposed to have reverted back, seemed pretty bad. Yeah, very cheap AI.
Conclusions, slandered me online, and aided in this crazy propaganda spreading. Some of you guys have honestly got this completely twisted. This is only going to make me speak up louder. Wallahi, I promise you I won't stop standing for the oppressed, and our work is going to get even stronger and even more, inshallah.
There's a misunderstanding here, because none of the haters were saying she shouldn't be doing this. None that she classifies haters would be saying she's doing that. It shouldn't be doing this. If she's actually doing humanitarian efforts, like real ones, legitimately using the money that's donated to her, I don't have an issue. I do not have an issue with that. But when you use AI and then you claim that that's you there with disappearing windows behind you, I have to question. But yeah, won't stop creating AI video. Nope. But you've been grifting since the beginning, considering your whole spiel has been ChatGPT. And I'm sure Elle will have more videos out. And if you guys have not seen Elle's video yet, oh, it's funny. It's funny. It was her and Christian Gadfly did a collab on a short or a video about it. And oh my gosh, they completely nailed it. But I'm going to see if she's actually got, she does. Interesting. She actually does have a response. Cool. Well, we might need to take a small intermission and come back to this, but let's go ahead and see what's going on here.
Don't worry, Allah is the best of planners, but also...
No, he's the best of deceivers. That's where you're getting that one from. Yep, Christian Gadfly.
I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who supported me during this. Honestly. Shalom Mubarak, guys.
Okay, well, she has a response video. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this live stream here, take a small break, go use the restroom, get a drink. I'm going to talk with Elle, see if she wants to react to her response live with me. If not, we'll see what happens. I might be back in a little bit with another live stream about this. So stay tuned for that. And as always, Deus Vult.